companies out there, and that we are never going to try to, let's say, drive you to home ownership if it's not a good fit for you. So we always want to take our time and learn your unique story and your situation and your goals, and try and help offer to you the right information so that you can make the best decision possible for your financial future. And without a doubt, the number one question we get these days is, do I buy now or do we wait? And I think that answer to that question is going to be unique for every person. But what I can do is I can give you a few perspectives to help you try and come up with the right answer for yourself. So, obviously the big forces in the market right now that are making people wonder whether it's a good time to buy or not revolve around home prices and interest rates. So without a doubt, the cost of home ownership in today's market is more expensive than what we've seen in recent history. I mean, golly, just a couple of years ago, interest rates were 3% on a 30-year fixed conventional mortgage, whereas today they're averaging anywhere from 6 to 7%, depending on a borrower's situation. So there's definitely a cost associated with that. And I think it's important, number one, to really understand what the cost is. So let me see if I can use this amazing technology and do a quick screen share.
Okay.
You'll bear with me for 2 seconds.
Yes.
And I think I did it. Yeah. So hopefully you can see my screen here. This is a really simple, not too simple. If you look at it, it probably doesn't look very simple, but it's basically an Excel spreadsheet that gives us an amortization schedule. So there's a lot going on here, but let's just assume for a second that you're borrowing $400,000. That's the average loan size is about $400,000. That's assuming a $500,000 purchase with 20% down. And we're going to assume that we put this out over 30 years on a 30-year fixed mortgage. And let's just assume that in our first scenario, we are at today's market rates of like 6.5%. And then we're going to assume that, imagine if we purchased, or imagine in the not so distant future, we refinance into a 4.5% rate. So what this tells us is that if you look right here at this number, the difference between these two rates at this loan size is about $500 a month. So the premium, if you will, to own a house today, using this as an example, is about $500 per month. Now, no one has a crystal ball, but it's pretty fair to say that if history is any indication, there's probably going to be an opportunity to refinance people today who are in 6% rates into 4% rates in probably 2, 3, 4 years. Again, hard to know for sure, but if history is any indication, every time rates go up, one thing is certain, they come down eventually. So let's just assume that you have to keep this 6.5% mortgage for 3 years. So down below here, we have this great little tool that allows us to look at how much interest you will have paid in the first 3 years. So when we highlight this, there's a little number down here. It's kind of hard to see, but it's about $76,000, just round up to $77,000. So that's how much interest you would pay with the 6.5% rate over the first 3 years. And if we look at this column over here, this is the 4.5% example, and the interest in this one is $52,701. So if we take, roughly $76,000 and we subtract out $53,000, that means there's an interest burden of about $23,000 that you would pay extra to own this house in today's market. So, a lot of times I'll explain this difference, and while it's not nothing, it's also not necessarily a deal killer when you consider the long-term value of real estate held. So for example, if you own this house for, let's say, 15 years or 20 years and you sell it, again, if history is any indication, it's very likely you're going to end up selling this home for $100,000, maybe $150,000 more than what you bought it for. Some people in today's market are even experiencing a larger return on their investment on homes that they just bought 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. So, the question really becomes, is it worth owning a house today, even if rates are a little higher, knowing that you'll probably refinance in the future? And there's a very strong likelihood that if you do hold the property for a length of time, you'll sell it for a profit even further into the future. God, just imagine you buy a $500,000 house and in 15 years you sell it for 600. You just made 100 in profit, and the interest burden for those 3 years that you had this higher rate was 20, whatever we said, 24,000. So you're still coming out way ahead is the point. But I think that more importantly in today's market, and interrupt me anytime, Alex, if you have questions, please.
Yes.
I think more importantly in this market, what you want to do is you want to really ask yourself two questions. If you're considering buying real estate, obviously look at the numbers and understand them, and have a great mortgage professional like us at Ready Rate to guide you and educate you. But really it comes down to two questions. Number one, is my dream home available? I cannot tell you how many of my past clients in the last 6 months have called me back. They just bought a house in the last 2 or 3 years, and they're calling me back saying, you know what, we're doing it again because the house we really wanted just came on the market. A lot of people had to settle these last few years because the competition was so fierce. So the odds of you finding your dream home in today's market is significantly greater. I think the last statistic I saw is that there's over 100% more homes listed right now than there were just a year ago.
Yes.
You probably know better than me, but that's amazing. That's a large number. So the odds of you finding a house that you really like or really love is significantly greater. So question number one, is my dream home available? Question number two, can I afford the monthly payment? Remember that affordability is not what you can qualify for. You call me at Ready Rate. I'm going to give you a great pre-approval, and I'm going to tell you how much you can qualify for. But I'm also going to give you extra information because I want to challenge you to try to figure out what can I afford. And affordability is all about your household budget. It's all about you taking the time to sit down and actually do a budget. Most people laugh when I say that because they don't do their budgets, but everyone should live off of a budget, I believe. And I call your budget your truth serum. It's going to tell you whether or not you can afford the house. So when you do the math, if that extra 500, your budget tells you that that's a deal breaker and you can't afford it, then listen to your budget. Don't buy the house. But if your budget says yes, even if it's begrudgingly, if it says yes, my advice is to strongly consider buying the house. Because while you're going to lose a little bit of your future return on your investment due to this interest burden that I talked about, you're not going to lose it all. There's still a lot of upside if history is any indication on your real estate investment to be earned. So again, I saw a great quote this morning, as a matter of fact, because I was having this conversation with a client. And I'm one of those corny guys that likes to look at inspirational stuff every morning and say his words of affirmation and all that jazz. So I saw a great, see if I can bring it up real quick. I saw a great quote that really kind of exemplifies what I'm trying to say. Let's see if it comes up. Technology's in order for me. Did it come up? No?
No, I see the screen, but I don't see the quote.
I'm going to try one more time. Let's see. Screen share. And share.
Well, I see your screen, but I see the, okay, now it is.
Yeah. So good old Lau said this. He said, if you are depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're at peace, you're living in the present. And I'm constantly, this is such a true statement for all the borrowers that I work with, because the ones that call me that are really sad and upset are the ones living in the past, kicking themselves because they didn't buy that house for $200,000 less than they could have, 3 years ago. And the ones that call me that are all, I just had a conversation a few minutes ago with a past client of mine who's thinking about buying another investment. And he's like, do I do it? Do I wait? He sounded so much anxiety. And I said, listen, don't worry about it. Like, it's out of your control. If you're living in the future, you do have a lot of anxiety. The best thing to do is live in the present. It's my dream home available.
That's a great quote. Yes.
That's a good one. So what do you think? What are your thoughts, Alex? As a realtor, that's the mortgage perspective. From the real estate perspective, what do you think?
Well, we are gonna align almost this. I mean, with you. I mean, same thing. I mean, we experiences, that kind of anxious with buyers. That when we show houses and you see how the eyes get so bright and like, oh yes, I love it. But it's a second thought. As soon as they get home, it's like, well, I mean, economy is gonna crash, rates is gonna go up, and price is gonna go down like they used to be in 2008, 2010. No, that's not gonna happen. But there's still something in the mind, and it's too much in the media right now and the news and all that. So they all that combined make a step back a little bit in weight. But there are some people, like you mentioned, that is in the present is like, oh no, forget it. I see that in the future it's gonna come out better for me. I can pay 6.5 right now, but I know I have different possibilities to get my dream home. Is right there. I see it, but
Yeah.
waiting. I mean, sometimes it's just a decision that some they make. I mean, they have the cash, you have the approval. I mean, if it, like you mentioned, that question number one is your right home, your dream home out there. Again,
Yep.
it's a time to do the step, because
Yeah.
once prices or interest rate go down, a lot of people they're gonna think the same way you do, and a lot of people is gonna come in the market, and prices gonna start going up again, and we're gonna start
Mhm.
eating to the house.
Yeah. And there's one reason why that is because the one common denominator that's not going up while everything else is going up is the number of homes available for sale. Sure, there's more houses on the market right now, but overall, the number of homes available, just the number's small, and it's not there. Construction has not been able to keep up with the pace of demand, and that's not going to change anytime soon. The millennials are going to be a force to reckon with when it comes to the desire to buy homes, even greater than the baby boomers. So it's
Yes,
it's only going to get tighter. And you're right. As soon as rates come down, all those people that are on the sidelines waiting are going to come onto the field to try to
at the
play,
same time.
and it's going to be just a repeat of what we just experienced. So, I agree. It's hard. It's hard to get people to understand that. And again, it's not our job to force them to understand. It's just our job to try to educate them. But it's I think those two questions really help to kind of bring all the anxiety in check, to bring all the depression in check, and to really just live in the present. Is it available and can I afford it? If the answer is yes and yes, I say go full steam ahead. I've closed thousands of mortgages. I talk to all those clients on a regular basis, and I haven't met one who bought a house that they love and bought a house that they can afford. I have never met one of those clients that is disappointed.
That's great. Thank you,
Yeah.
Michael. Thank you so much for today's lesson. That was very good. And I think that is very helpful for people that are out there thinking and rethinking about purchase, and also for a lot of real estate agents also that they need a little bit, push in this too.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Alex. It's great to see you as always.
And don't forget, next week we have another interested topic, which should be the DPA program, the ugly
Perfect.
tooth.
We're going to take about 10 or 15 minutes and go deep on some down payment assistance programs. We call those DPAs. Some ways that can help individuals trying to become homeowners who don't have enough savings necessarily to bridge the gap.
Thank you. See
Take
you
care,
next
Alex.
Wednesday. Thank you so much. Bye.